Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining our session today. I am Julianne Law. I am one of the admins at STEMPOINT East, and today we are joined by David Sheffield. Just a few bits of housekeeping before we go ahead. This session is being recorded, so please keep your microphones off and your cameras off. The session will be available to you after it's all been processed. So can I ask you to do me one thing before we get started? Can you just pop your school name in the chat just so we can make sure that the chat is working, and how many students, pupils you've got with you today? You will need to use the chat going forward. David will explain it to you once I finish talking. So on that note, I will hand you over to David Sheffield. Thank you very much, David. Take it away.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is David Sheffield and I'm a statistician and I work for a company called Unilever. So what we're going to do with this session is I'm going to explain this idea of risk, and I'm going to explain how it fits in with the job I do. Then we're going to play a game to help understand what risk is about. And for that game, you will need in your class, between your class, or one for each class, some pen and paper, or a whiteboard, blackboard, or flip chart, something like that, to record your score. So make sure you've got that handy. And then after the game, we're going to explain how we can use maths to understand the game and how that also fits in with my job. So this is me. I'm a statistician. I've been doing this for 15 years. And to get to where I did, to get the job, I had to study at university for 4 years to do that. And I work for Unilever. So you may not have heard of Unilever, but you've probably heard of some of these brands, some of these products that are ours, that we own. You might have even used one of them today, or certainly have some of them in your house. We reckon that there's around 2.5 billion people in the world who use one of our products every day, and you'll find us in over 190 countries. So Unilever is a big company, but how does my job fit into that? Well, I work for a department called the Safety and Environment Assurance Centre. So that means that we have to make sure that our products are safe for the consumer. So this is the people who use, who eat, or make use of our products. We have to make sure that our products are safe for the manufacturers. These are the people who make them. And we have to make sure that our products are safe for the environment as well. So here's a couple of examples. Imagine this bolognese sauce. And we know that this sauce is made in a factory where they also make food that contains peanuts. So we want to know, what is the risk that someone who is allergic to nuts will get ill from eating this bolognese sauce? Or we think about being safe for the manufacturer. Here's some washing powder. And we know that to make clothes clean, we have to put these special chemicals in the washing powder. But we know that if you're exposed to these chemicals for a long time, then you can start to get ill from it. So we want to know, what is the risk that a factory worker will be affected by these chemicals? Or if we think about the environment, what happens when you brush your teeth? So you put your toothpaste on your toothbrush, you brush your teeth, and you spit it into the sink, and then you wash it down the plug hole. But where does it go? Well, it goes down the drain into the sewage system, and it goes to a sewage treatment plant where the water is cleaned, and most of the chemicals are taken out of the water before the clean water is then pumped into the rivers. But some of those chemicals might get into the environment. So what is the risk that plants, insects, fish are affected by these chemicals that are in the toothpaste? So think about an apple. If you think of an apple, you think it's a very healthy, a very good for you thing to have. You say an apple a day, is what you need to eat. But did you know that in an apple there is poison, something called cyanide? So does that mean that eating an apple is bad? Well, the cyanide is actually inside the pips. So you would need to eat about 100 pips to be affected by the poison and the cyanide in the apple. So we say that the benefits from eating an apple far outweigh the risk, and the risk is so low that it's still okay to eat an apple. So let's think about risks a bit more and how much risk is okay. And we're going to do this by playing a game. So let me explain the game to you. So what we're going to do is I've got a dice here. I'm going to roll the dice twice. And so imagine I rolled a 5 and a 3. So that gives you a total score of 8. So everybody has scored 8 points. Then you get to decide. So you're going to decide within your class whether you're going to bank that score. So in this instance, you would write down round 1 and then your score would be 8. Or you can take a risk. And if you take a risk, we're going to roll that dice again. But this time, if a 6 is rolled, you wipe out. And that means that you would have to write down round 1, score 0. And that's it, you're out for the rest of the round. However, if we roll a number that isn't a 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, we add that to our score. So we were on 8, say we rolled a 2, that gives us 10. And then you move on to 10 and we start that process again. You can decide whether you're going to bank that score. So you write down round 1, score 10, or you can risk another roll. And we'll keep going round until either everyone has banked a score or a 6 is rolled. And that means everyone who's left in the game will wipe out. So to let me know that you are taking a risk, in Zoom, there should be a button that says reactions. If you just give us a thumbs up or one of the other symbols, then I know that you as a class will be playing on and I'll roll the dice again. And once, if I don't get any of these symbols, then I'll assume that everyone's banked and we'll move on to the next round. We'll play that game for 10 to 15 minutes. So there'll be enough time for about 3 or 4 rounds. I'll give you enough time to decide within your class what you're going to do. So what I need to do now is I need to stop sharing my screen. So you should be able to see my camera. And if I lower the camera down, you can see what I've got here. So this is round 1. These are your first bonus starting rolls. So we've got a 2 and another 2. So that moves us on to a starting score of 4. So you now need to decide within your class, are you going to bank those 4 or are you going to risk? So I'll give you a few seconds to decide. If you are deciding you want to risk, gives a thumbs up. So I can see one class are definitely playing on. Anybody else risking? Yes, we've got 2, 3, 4. So last few seconds to decide. 3, 2, 1. Okay, here comes the first roll. It's a 1. So that moves us on to 5. So we were on 4. Most of you were playing on. Now, are you going to bank those 5 points or are you going to take a risk? I'll give you a few more seconds to decide in your classes. Okay, who is taking a risk? There's definitely 1 class, 2 classes, 3. Okay, last few seconds. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. It is a 5. So 5 plus 5 is 10. So now, hopefully you're getting the hang of this. Are you going to bank those 10 points or are you going to risk a roll? Have a little discussion. You've got a few more seconds. Okay, thumbs up if you are risking. 3, 2, 1. Okay, here we go. And it's a 3. So we're now up to 13. Okay, so again, bank or risk. If you're banking, write down round 1, score 13. If you are taking a risk, give us a thumbs up. Okay, I can see one class is still deciding to play on. Anyone else? Last few seconds. Okay. And it's a 1. So that moves us on to 14. Risk or bank. I think we've probably only got one class left in. So, so I'll do this a little bit quicker. Risk or bank. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Here we go. So it's a 2. So that's 16. I'm going to do one more roll because I need. So if it's not a 6, then I'm going to say force a bank just to make sure that we get on to round 2 for those who've banked. Okay, so 16. 3, that's 19. So if you haven't already banked, I'm going to say bank now, just so that the other classes can join back in. So you should all have a score for round 1. And we'll start round 2 with 2 starter rolls. There's a 6, so you know a 6 does come up, but that's okay. This is just the starting 1 and a 1. The 6 and a 1 is 7. Okay, so this is round 2. Everyone's back in. Are you going to risk or bank? 7 points. I'll give you a few more seconds to decide. Okay, I've got a few thumbs up, which is great. Okay, 3, 2, 1, and it's a 1. So that moves us up to 8 points. Okay, didn't make the decisions to risk or bank. You know what you're doing now, so so I'll give you a little bit less time. Here we go, 3, 2, 1, and it's a 6, which means if you were still playing on, then it's a wipeout. So unfortunately, write down round 2, 0. If you'd banked before that, then well done. And we'll move on to round 3. I think we've got time for 2 more rounds, depending on how long this one takes. We've got a 2, another 2. So we're back up to 4 points. Risk or bank? Are you going to bank those 4 points? Or are you going to take a risk? Give us a thumbs up when you've decided. Okay, last few seconds then. Okay, 3, 2, 1. It's a 2, a third 2 in a row. So that gives us 6 points. So are you going to bank those 6 points, or are you going to take a risk? So at least 2 classes, 3 classes now have given me a thumbs up. Anyone else taking the risk? Okay, 3, 2, 1. Is a 3. So 6 plus 3 is 9. Okay, so we've got 9 points on offer. Again, decide what you're going to do. You're going to play on, or are you going to bank those those 9 points? Okay, last few seconds. 3, 2, 1. It's a 5. So that's 9 plus 5 is 14. So Same rules again. Are we going to risk or are we going to bank? Thumbs up if you're taking a risk. I can see some people want to take that risk. Okay, last few seconds then. 3, 2, 1. It's a 2 again. 2 is very popular today, so 14 plus 2 is 16. So decide, are you going to bank those 16 points or are you going to take a risk? Okay, so I can see a thumbs up from at least one class. Anyone else? Yes, 2 classes, 3. All right, 4. Oh, still a lot of classes still in. Right, here we go. It is a 4. So 16 plus 4 is 20. Okay. Make a decision if you're going to risk or bank. So 20 points for round 3. This is the highest score we've got so far. Okay, I've got a couple of thumbs up. So last few seconds for anyone else who wants to decide. Okay, 3, 2, 1. And it's another 4. So that's 24 points now. Okay. I think I'm going to make the next roll the last one, just so we've got time for one more round after this one. So give us a thumbs up if you are going to risk or if you're going to bank at 24. I've got 2 thumbs up, so this is exciting. 24, here comes the roll. It's a 6. So I'm afraid that if you were still in, then for round 3, you have wiped out. If you have banked before that, then well done. So I think we've got time for this final round. Everyone's back in. So it starts with a 6. Another 6. So 12 points. Are there going to be 3 6s in a row? I don't know. If you want to risk, give us a thumbs up. If you want to bank, then write down 12 points for round 4. Okay, I've got a couple of thumbs up, quite a few thumbs up. So people thinking that they want more than 12 points. So 1 in 6 chance of getting a 6. So see what happens. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. So 1. Drop my pen. So 12 plus 1 is 13. So is anyone going to bank those 13 points or are they going to take a risk? So I've got a few thumbs up, so a lot of people playing on. Okay, last few seconds then to decide. 3, 2, 1. And it's a 2. So 13 plus 2 is 15. Okay. So we got up to 24 in the last round before a 6 was rolled. What is that going to mean? I've got some thumbs up on the screen. So we're going to be playing on. Last few seconds to decide then. Okay, 3, 2, 1. It is a 4. So 15 plus 4 is 19. It's a good score now, but is it enough? I don't know. Decide whether you want to risk another roll or if you're going to bank those 19 points. Okay, I haven't seen any thumbs up. I may have missed them. Anybody taking a risk or are you all banking? Oh, here we go. A couple of people risking those 19 points. Got 3 thumbs up now. Last few seconds. Okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1. It's a good one. It's 5. That takes us from 19 points on to 24 points. 24 points for the round. Is anyone going to bank that 24 points, or are you going to risk another roll? Okay, last few seconds to make that decision. I haven't seen any thumbs up yet. So you might be everyone banking. Okay, I'm just going to roll it anyway in case I've missed it. 3, 2, 1. It's a 3. So if you're still playing on, then you'll be on 27. I don't think anybody is still playing, so I'm going to stop there. If you are, then say bank your score there at 27, and what I need you now to do, you should have 4 scores for the 4 different rounds. What you need to do is add up those 4 numbers, and then if you put them with your school name into the chat, and then at the end of the talk, we'll see which class has got the highest score and are the winners. So while you're doing that, let me get the presentation up again. Okay, so I wonder, in playing that game, what was your strategy? Did you decide that you were going to risk a certain number of rolls, so stop after X number of rolls? Or maybe it was to think of a score you wanted to reach. Maybe it was you wanted to get 10 points, so as soon as 10 was reached, or some other number, you would then decide to bank after that. Or maybe after each time you were given that opportunity, you decided what you thought might happen. If you thought, well, I don't think it's going to be a 6, so let's risk it, or I think it's definitely going to be a 6, so let's bank. Maybe that affected how you decided what to do. Or maybe you were copying other people and waiting to see how many other people were playing on, as to whether what you decided to do. Well, what we can do is we can use some maths to work out what the best strategy is. So because a dice has got 6 sides, we know what the probability is, what the chance of getting each number is. So we can plug that into a computer program to run it for us. So we can play the game 1 million times fairly quickly just by getting a computer to do it for us. So I did this. I ran the game 1 million times, and I looked to see what the best score was. So we can look at the mean, which is the average score. This is the score we'd expect to get. And you see this blue line. So on this axis, you've got the score that we get, and this is the number of extra rolls across the bottom. And you see, as we increase the number of rolls, our expected score goes up to after about 3 rolls. But then it also increases this chance of wiping out, which makes our average score go down as we keep playing the game. And our best strategy, which gets us a score of 9.27, is to take 3 risks every round. And that might mean we do wipe out sometimes, but it gets us a score on average of just over 9. But we're not just interested in what the average is. Certainly when I'm doing my risk analysis in the products that we use and how it might affect people, we're actually thinking about, well, some people are actually lucky and some people are unlucky. So imagine in this dice game, you've got this, you might get lots of 5s being rolled. So each roll you get loads of points and a 6 just doesn't come up. We could be in, so for every 10 games, the highest score out of each 10 games, I've called lucky. And this gives us this green line. And actually for that score, we can roll 11 times and get an average score, or a lucky score of 37. But on the other side, we might be unlucky and a 6 might come up quite quickly. And we'd expect that a 6 would come up so regularly we'd be unlucky after one roll. And so we'd expect to get 4 points. And certainly when I'm looking at keeping people safe, we want to expect the unlucky situation to happen. So we're looking at this red line, and actually that would mean banking after the first 2 rolls. The second strategy I suggested was that we stopped after we reached a certain score. So this graph shows us the same idea of the average and this lucky and unlucky situation. And actually, if we decided to stop once 16 had been reached, our average score is 9.44, which is better than the 9.27 we had in the previous strategy. So this is our best strategy. So the idea is that when we reach the score of 16, then we bank at that point. And it means that we'll probably wipe out a couple of times, but we'll end up with a higher average score. If we're lucky, we could end up with 44 points. If we're being unlucky, then once 7 is reached is the score we should be banking. But we don't know if we're going to be lucky or unlucky, which is a bit of a challenge. So you can take this game and play it with your family tonight, and you know what the best strategy is now, and you could win. So you should be able to win, but you'd have to play quite a few games to make sure that the strategy works. But just as I finish, and a couple of things to say. First is risk can be estimated, and so we can use maths and math skills to work out. When we were thinking about that bolognese sauce, we can put all of those, we can measure all of those factors that go into saying how likely it is for someone to have a reaction, and using those maths to come up with some sort of value, so we can put numbers on that risk. But also, how much risk is okay? Well, that depends on what the benefit is. That means what all the good stuff we get from it. And also, if we fail, how bad is a failure? Just getting a 6 on the dice isn't going to hurt anyone. But if somebody gets ill or has an allergic reaction, that could be very bad. So we don't want that to happen. And I like these 2 pictures here, and they show the same situation. There's 2 people doing exactly the same thing. They're both walking on the rope, but a failure for one is different from the failure for the other. So if that girl fell off her little rope, she would probably just get up and carry on again. But it could be a very different situation for the guy on the right. So although they're both taking a risk, the failure for either of them will give different consequences. And I think there is a rope attaching the guy on the right to the line. So if he did fall off, he would just have to climb back up again. But it does show that risk and benefit are important, and what would happen if there was a failure. So that's the end of my talk. Now I'm hoping that we've got some scores and we can see who is the winner.
We do have some scores. Thank you everybody that took part in that. That was very interesting for me. I've never seen this presentation before, so it was very good. Okay, so scores going first. St Bart's ended up with 67 points. Linsdale Year 6 M1 class ended up with 57. Grace, I've not got what school you're from, Grace, unfortunately, but you had 32 points. Linsdale 6 M3 got 45. And Linsdale 6 M5 got 58. So the winner of that is St Bart's.
Okay, well done. Thank you very much. And I don't know if anyone's got any questions or thoughts. I think we've got about 30 seconds left. So yeah.
Got any questions, anybody? Please feel free to put them in the chat. And I'll direct them to David. If not, please feel free to leave the presentation. But thank you very much for joining us today. Grace, thank you so much. Thank you all. Have a nice day. Thank you, Beatrix. There we go. Stop that.